if you have an HTC Vive, you have a PC with a big NVIDIA card in it. It's a big card like this. It costs, if you buy the good one, the 1080 card, it costs about $600 just for the card that's inside your PC for your Oculus Rift, for one of these headsets, Oculus Rift or HTC Vive. You're not going to have that big card in a phone. But I think everybody's going to get VR in the phone. So how are we going to put a small GPU in the phone and have it give the same number of polygons and the same frame rate as the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift is? We're going to use eye sensors, and I think that's one of the things on your news list today. You're going to use eye sensors to look at pieces of the screen and uncompress only those pieces of the screen. This is a new technique called foveated rendering, and that's going to be a new trend that we're going to see evolve over the next year. So welcome to Inside.com's virtual reality and augmented reality show on the Inside Network. I'm Robert Scoble, and I've been a futurist for a long time. I've been a public face of Microsoft, Fast Company, Rackspace, and now I'm going around the world and covering the world of virtual reality and what I call mixed reality, but other people call augmented reality. And that's what this show's about. So, Austin, why don't you introduce yourself? Because we're all starting out here, and we have a third party who will be here once in a while, Jason Calacanis. We're going to switch off roles on this show because all three of us are traveling and covering the world, and we're not always in the same room. So this show will mix it up over every couple of weeks. So we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah. So my name is Austin Smith, and I'm the general manager at Inside.com. We have a network of email newsletters over there that we've been growing, and one of our most popular ones has been Inside VR and AR, and that kind of the growth of that newsletter led to a discussion between Jason and Robert and I about getting a podcast off the ground, and so here we are doing it. So just in terms of the format, it's going to kind of be we'll have guests on today. Today it's just Robert and me. Sometimes Jason will be here as a sort of recurring guest host, and then we'll have guests from founders, investors, people building cool stuff in mixed reality.
And we're doing this for multiple channels, mostly for audio, right? So that you can listen to this show in your car or on the subway or something like that, right?
Yeah, so it's a podcast. Since we have a video-equipped studio, we figure we may as well do video. So we'll have it up on YouTube and Facebook Live, things like that. Yeah. And then through RSS to iTunes and all of your favorite podcast apps, SoundCloud.
Over at Upload, we have a green screen room where we can do real mixed reality. We can put on a headset and show you what we're actually experiencing in virtual reality, whether we're throwing frisbees or shooting skeet or something like that. We might play with that over the next year, but right now we're going to aim at audio first and see how it evolves, right?
Yep. And then in terms of the format, it's kind of a news show, so we'll be kind of I'll be sort of your news reader. With our editorial team at Inside, I'll be pulling together the most interesting news that happens in the space every week, and then we'll just kind of tick through these things and start a conversation and hear what Robert has to say about these things.
Or see what other guests have, because we'll have guests on it over the next year in the studio, and we're going to find out where the state of the art is going with this stuff.
Yep.
So what's the first step on the news?
All right. So Microsoft this week announced new VR headsets starting at $299. The major selling point of Microsoft's new line of devices is what's called Inside Out 6 degree of freedom tracking. That's
a big term, and we should spend some time on it. If you have a Samsung Gear VR, you only have 3 degrees of freedom. You can only turn your head and look around like this. With an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift, the high-end ones, you can move around. And I'm messing up the microphone, but you can move around. So if I'm playing tennis, I can only do it in a headset that has 6 degrees of freedom, because you need to move your hands and you need to move your face around. That's why it's real important. I think real VR starts with 6 degrees of freedom, and then it moves into the mixed reality world where you are going to see the virtual stuff on top of the real world, right?
And so you would say 6 degrees of freedom is sort of, so we've talked about room scale VR, which is sensors that create a room and then can track you within that. And this is just the headset, so it's less. It could be in theory less constraining than
way less constraining. So what Qualcomm showed, I just visited Qualcomm's VR lab, and they have a camera on the headset. So they have a headset like this with a camera on the front of it that then captures 800 times a second. It's a black and white camera, and it's looking for points around the room. Once it figures out the points in the room, it knows where the headset is located and how it's turned. So it can do this room scale stuff without having sensors looking at your body, and it can let you move around. And it can also know where all the walls are, so it can put artificial barriers to tell you, hey, you're about to slam into a wall or hit somebody. So don't go further. There's a grid, and that's when you get an HTC Vive, you have to put these two sensors up on your walls, aimed at your play area, and it builds a virtual play space. And when you get to the edge of that play space, a green grid shows up, and if you go further, you're about to hit a window or hit somebody or something like that, right?
So theoretically, you could sort of have this room scale VR experience, which I think is amazing as it is with 8 feet by 8 feet, but you could have that across a football field or the whole world, essentially.
Now, the way that Microsoft, I think Microsoft is using the chipset from Qualcomm that they showed me with the camera, and it's coming out in a few months, so it's not out today. Soon, by the end of next year, you're going to have 3D sensors on the phones. So Google, on the Android side of the fence, is going to have the Tango sensor. Apple is going to have the Prime Sense sensor. And these sensors are much more detailed and see the world in 3 dimensions. So now it really knows where this phone is, and it works a lot better for this kind of inside-out 6 degrees of freedom.
What do you think? So if processing power has kind of been the big constraint so far, it's the reason that a high-end VR experience today costs whatever it is, $3,000 between a headset and a high-power PC. And it sounds like when you're talking about a camera that's drawing a 3D image of the whole world around it, in addition to rendering all of the virtual polygons that you're looking at, is the processing power going to get there soon enough?
And we're going to do some trickery. So if you have an HTC Vive, you have a PC with a big NVIDIA card in it. It's a big card like this. It costs, if you buy the good one, the 1080 card, it costs about $600 just for the card that's inside your PC for your Oculus Rift, for one of these headsets, Oculus Rift or HTC Vive. You're not going to have that big card in a phone. But I think everybody's going to get VR in the phone. So how are we going to put a small GPU in the phone and have it give the same number of polygons and the same frame rate as the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift is? We're going to use eye sensors, and I think that's one of the things on your news list today. You're going to use eye sensors to look at pieces of the screen and uncompress only those pieces of the screen. This is a new technique called foveated rendering, which is going to let the small GPUs that are in the phone concentrate on only where your eye is actually looking. And that's going to be a new trend that we're going to see evolve over the next year.
So if I am looking at this and I'm focused on this area of the screen, does my peripheral vision with the peripheral
needs fewer polygons because your eye only sees detail where it's actually looking, right?
Right.
If I'm looking here, actually my eye is seeing all this in black and white, and your brain is filling in the color, right? Mm-hmm. So your eye is very imperfect around the peripheral. It's only seeing where I'm actually looking at. So it only needs to uncompress polygons and bitmaps in that space. So it can save on bandwidth, it can save on battery life because it doesn't need to turn on a lot of the screen features that are coming with the new OLED screens that are coming out, and it can concentrate the GPU's power on just where you're looking, which is a small piece of the screen. So this is trickery because it's going to feel like it has a lot of frame rate and a lot of polygons. It's going to feel like you're in the middle of an HTC Vive, but it's not going to have a big GPU.
Okay, so might as well actually just skip ahead to Google this week announced they've acquired iFluence, which is an eye tracking startup. So thought we might as well get your reaction to that. You've just explained a big part of it, but
eye tracking is going to let you do 2 things in these new mixed reality headsets. One, it's going to let us do this new foveated rendering, compression and uncompression. it's also going to let us look at like a Coke can with our eyes, and a menu will be able to pop up, or maybe Skrillex starts jumping out of the can and do a little performance for us right here, right? Because it knows we're looking at it and knows we want to instantiate the virtual thing on top of this can. And so this new user interface is coming along. You're going to see Magic Leap and HoloLens and whatever Google is doing, because Google's doing something because they just bought iFluence, which is one of the two companies I know that's doing eye sensors, and there's probably more. And we're going to see a lot of products in the next 12 months released with eye sensors. Yeah. And Google just bought the company. We don't know what they paid for it, and that hasn't been disclosed, but we'll figure it out.
Had they shipped a product, iFluence?
They have shown prototypes. I have video at South by Southwest with Jim Margraf, the CEO, doing the demo of it, and it works exactly like that. He's using an ODG glass. He has the eye sensors in the glass. He has, in fact, I should have brought my computer so you can see a picture of them. In fact, let me get that out in a second. But they're two little sensors, and it does exactly that. You look at a Coke can, and it tells you, a little menu pops off the Coke can, and you can do stuff. It also, because the eye sensors are so good, each of our eyes is a fingerprint, so now it can identify that I'm actually wearing the glasses, so I can do banking over the internet with just my eyes. I can purchase things on Amazon with just my eyes, and I can even click on a keyboard of some kind with my eyes. It won't be as fast as clicking with your fingers on a Bluetooth keyboard, but it will allow you to do something while walking down the street and say, yeah, I need a McDonald's or something like that.
Yep. And you think that's a lot more powerful than the sort of pointing your head?
Yeah, because that's important too, right? Knowing the orientation of your head, but knowing where your eyes are looking is also important. Also, anytime you see anything that is attractive, your eyes open up, right? So think about if you see brands that you're finding interesting, like a new Tesla in the street or something, your eyes are going to open up and go, wow, that's a cool car. And now it's going to register, oh, you like Teslas, and it's going to put that in the database, and it's going to be able to personalize your experience even more to you, right?
Right. Huh, really
Which gets into a whole, on the show, I'm sure we're going to have some privacy guests to talk about the big data that's coming, because the data that we're going to capture on everybody isn't going to be petabytes anymore like it is. I just met with the head of innovation at Visa, and he says, yeah, every week we gather petabytes on our marketplace. It's going to be exabytes soon.
And once we're wearing these headsets and living in mixed reality, then the whole world essentially becomes an advertising platform. You see a billboard when you're driving down the road, and right now it's targeted just to the audience of people driving down the road, but next time you'll see it, and it'll be saying, hey, Robert.
It's cooler and weirder than that, because first of all, if somebody starts putting ads in your face, you're going to be really pissed at these things. You're not going to wear them anymore. You're going to take them off and go, this is stupid. But every brand is going to have a virtual component and a physical component. I just visited Sephora's R&D lab to prepare for our book that's coming out, which I call The Fourth Transformation. And they're building augmented reality makeup. So you can try some lipstick on. Pink lipstick doesn't look good on me, but you can already get the Sephora app. It's in the Sephora app. You aim the camera at you, and you can try pink lipstick on your face and see what it would look like on your face. The lipstick is matched to the real product. So if I buy the actual product and put it on my face, it'll look exactly as it did in my iPhone representation. So now I'm looking at you, and you look really cool because you have some cool makeup and some cool new virtual clothing on that's mapped to your clothing. Remember, the sensor that's coming, Apple has 600 engineers working in Tel Aviv on this sensor alone. This sensor can see your heartbeat working this far away, and can see the fibers in your shirt, and can see how hard I'm pressing this table from this far away. I have a video of the CEO showing me this 4 years ago. So it's probably better today.
Okay, well, that's actually a good segue. So this week you put a post up on Medium. I'm just going to read one paragraph of it, but anyone can go find it. It's on Robert's Medium page, and the sort of overarching theory here, or rumor, or I'll let you kind of sum up what it is, but it's that in 11 months next fall, we're going to have an iPhone shipping to millions of people that is a clear piece of glass. So I'll just read this paragraph quickly. So the next iPhone, I'm told, will be a clear piece of glass, a Gorilla Glass sandwich with other polycarbonates for being pretty shatter resistant if dropped. With a next generation OLED screen, I have several sources confirming this. You pop it into a headset which has eye sensors on it, which enables the next iPhone to have a higher apparent frame rate and polygon count than a PC with an NVIDIA 1080 chip in it, thanks to foveated rendering, which I think, we were just talking about. So that's what it is, a clear iPhone. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I'm watching the chat room on Facebook Live.
Oh, cool.
So my wife is already saying we better have some a diverse group of guests. We certainly will.
Yes.
There's a lot of new terms. She asked me to define 6 degrees of freedom a little bit better. It's moving around, and polygons. Polygons are triangles because the way the sensor is going to work, and I'll get to the clear piece of glass. It's going to see this world as a point cloud of little tiny points.
Yep.
Right? All over this room. Trillions of them. And then it's going to convert those to polygons, little triangles on top of you. Because that's how the GPU works, the graphics processor that's in the phone that lets you play video games. When you're playing a video game and you're shooting something in Call of Duty, you're actually looking at billions of polygons, little triangles, and on top of those polygons are bitmaps, or the artwork that makes up the game. The faces, the guns, the explosions are all little polygons. And the GPU, if it's faster, can display more polygons, so the game gets richer, right? Every year you get more polygons and you get more richness. And what else did she ask for? And we're also going to introduce a new term called voxels. Qualcomm showed me this. So when the sensor's going to fire, going to grab this world in little trillions of little points, it's going to convert to triangles. So everything in here is a triangle with a bitmap laid on top of it, and a little voxel, which is a volumetric pixel. So a pixel today is a 2D grid of pixels, but soon it's going to be piles of little volumetric or little cubes, and the cube is going to have bitmaps on all the sides, right? So I'm going to have a drone, for instance. Qualcomm already showed this to me with sensors on it. You fly the drone around this room, and it maps out the room as it's flying around, and it puts everything in terms of piles of voxels. Everything is a volumetric pixel. So now if you try to fly it at the wall, it'll stop. It knows there's a wall there. Even with the sensors turned off, it knows where everything is. So now you can fly your drone really aggressively. And with these sensors on, everything is going to be piles of voxels. So now I can have a a new kind of chess game here on the table, and we can play a new kind of virtual chess. For instance, is one of the things you're going to be able to do with this. So this is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon, because we're already seeing this with HoloLens, Microsoft HoloLens. By the way, Microsoft is betting its entire company on HoloLens. That comes straight from the top, straight from Satya, and the signage I just saw in Dubai at the new Consumer Electronics Show there, the whole front of it was HoloLens. So it tells you Microsoft is signaling hard to the market. Our entire future is not flat windows anymore. It's holographic computing. It's this new mixed reality. Clear piece of glass. So coming next year is going to be a new OLED screen, a next generation OLED screen. The phone from here up is going to be a clear piece of glass. So I can do this and look for new kinds of Pokemons in this room, right? The clear piece of glass is going to have the prime sensor strip, which is going to include an optical camera and this new 3D sensor. And it's going to let you do new kinds of photography. Down here is going to be the battery and the processing and everything. And everybody's giving me heck and saying, how are you going to fit? Because today's phone, the battery is about this big, right?
Yep.
But today's phone, where does the power go? Let me show you where it goes. Because if you open up the iPhone and you look at battery usage, here, let's see. You'll see that Facebook here is taking 56% of my battery usage. Why? Because most of the power that goes to running this phone goes to displaying on the screen. And this next generation OLED screen is going to be about 80% more efficient than this screen is. So it needs half the battery size. So that alone shrunk the battery to about this big. And everything else that runs the phone is next generation. They're going to, Qualcomm showed me a little cube about the size of a sugar cube that had the GPU, the processor, and the memory all stacked in a little cube. Yep. So that little cube can sit in the corner of your phone and run the whole thing, and the rest is battery. I think Apple is going to innovate on battery. I also am hearing rumors that a new battery is underway. They're not sure that they're going to be able to do it in time for this new iPhone. But if that new battery technology gets here, it's going to be better than lithium ion. We'll see.
Yep.
Apple is making a lot of big billion-dollar bets on this phone because it's launching its new headquarters with the introduction of this phone next year, and it's the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. But Steve Jobs, when he met with Tim Cook over the last few months of his life, laid it out to Tim. What is the next future of television? And the new Apple TV will have one of these sensors in it too, and the new iPad will have one of these sensors too, and so will the phone. So when you use the Clear phone and see something on your Apple TV, you can grab it and put it places, right? Because we're going to be able to do new things in our homes because of these sensors, because it knows every surface in our home, and it's going to be able to lay TV anywhere.
Okay, a number of questions here. For one, is Apple ahead of the rest of the world on this?
Yes, but you won't recognize it for 11 months. And that's why I said this year is about suffering for Apple fans because Microsoft has HoloLens out. You've started hearing about Magic Leap, which got $1.3 billion and doesn't even have a product yet. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is working on this new world as well. You think he's only going to build something ugly and big like this? You're nuts. He bought this to set himself up for this mixed reality world where you're going to play things with people, right?
So, so certain people have been kind of calling out Apple. Maybe Jason Calacanis, maybe not.
Everybody, I have.
And so I'm wondering. I mean, do you think that it's just right? And but it's just because they're taking a big bet on 2017, and so they're strategically taking a beating today.
In 2011, I interviewed the CTO of Metaio, and he showed me monsters on side of skyscrapers in 2011. So that's already 5 years ago. It'll be 6 years by the time it ships next year. Apple bought that company. Tim Cook has been working on this ever since Steve Jobs died. He's been buying dozens of little companies that do artificial intelligence, that do the sensor, that do the augmented reality of putting things on top of the world, because he wants to have a big bang. He wants to do another bleeding edge product. I mean, as much as I know about this thing, I expect to have my mind blown by it, right? Because they've spent easily tens of billions of dollars on this thing so far, and that's just what Apple's spending. Qualcomm and Intel and AMD and NVIDIA are each spending $3 billion a year in R&D, right? And then there's the Chinese, the Huawei's said they have $10 billion in a year of R&D. And everybody is betting on this future. Huawei's headquarters in Silicon Valley is right next door to NVIDIA's headquarters. They share the same parking garage. This is not a mistake. This is the third largest cell phone manufacturer, right after Apple and Samsung. Microsoft is betting its entire company on HoloLens. So that's why we're doing this show, right?
Yeah.
Because we are seeing multiple billions of dollars of investment across the industry to bring this to us. And it's going to be the user interface that controls the smart city, the IoT, the self-driving car, the robot, whatever goes on in the TV system at home, right? So it's going to have implications across the industry. At Tesla, what are they doing? Elon Musk has 3 companies he's working with. The first is Quanergy. That's a new kind of 3D sensor for the road.
Yep.
And that's a LiDAR that's focusable. It's a solid state LiDAR array. It's an array that's going to sit in your bumper and it's going to see everything. Your Apple glasses or your HoloLens or your Magic Leap is going to let you see what that sensor sees. Mm-hmm. Right? That's going to be the demo. Come in and see what I see. You're going to see in a Model 3, you're going to be inside a F-35 fighter cockpit.
And they're shipping an NVIDIA GPU in their cars now, right?
Of course. The GPU runs all the artificial intelligence so far. Now, there's a new chip coming, and we'll see how fast that comes. But the NVIDIA types of companies are building a new kind of artificial intelligence chip because they're these GPUs, when it's used for that purpose, isn't about displaying polygons. It's about seeing the world and knowing whether that's a Coke can or a Croy can, right? Mm-hmm. So Quanergy is going to be the sensor in the car. You're going to wear the Apple glasses or the HoloLens glasses or the Magic Leap glasses, and you're going to be in an F-35 fighter cockpit. When you're a F-35 fighter jet pilot, you don't see your plane anymore. You just see the world around you, and you see the F-16 that's about to kill you underneath you, right? New Top Gun's coming, right? All with augmented reality. And the pilots told me they can see you. You can't see them because they have stealth technology. Your radar sensors can't even see the plane right in front of you, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And they can stop where the F-16 can't stop. He said, I'll never lose a fight with an F-16 because I can kill you no way around. And I can see the entire battlefield. I visited Saab in Australia where they're using HoloLens on the bridge of these new aircraft carriers. They're building the systems for the aircraft carrier. So the admiral is going to have a HoloLens on and see an F-16 fighter jet go by, and it's going to show on top of the jet whether that's a friendly or a foe, and all sorts of who it is and where what their mission plan is. So they're going to see their battle. In real life. They're going to see the battlefield through their mixed reality glasses, right? And we're going to do that at home. Isn't that crazy? We're going to do that in a car in 2 years.
Yeah. So this is crazy. Okay. My last question, because I think we should move on. But the clear glass. I guess my question is kind of right now, virtual reality and augmented reality, other than kind of the Snapchat type of fun AR, really simple stuff. Pokemon is obviously, but in terms of like wearing a headset, that's really not a behavior that has been adopted in the wide kind of mainstream.
It will be when you see how cool it is. And that's why I recommend people get some time in an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift, because it's massively cool. My kids and I play basketball. We do skeet shooting. We shoot zombies. We play racing games. We play all sorts of things. We draw new kinds of things in 3D using Google Tilt Brush, that kind of thing.
But since most people still won't have tried that in 11 months, if Apple's rolling out this clear phone and the whole feature set is around like the sensors and being able to draw this world and look through your phone, is there any risk that the whole world just says like, why'd you do that? We wanted just a thinner phone.
No.
Everyone,
when you see how cool this is, you're gonna use it.
And I know I will.
Keep in mind, there's a couple of R&D. The reason we're doing the show in San Francisco is because all of this stuff is happening here or around the world that's spinning around this space, right? If you go over to the shopping mall people, Westfield Labs, that's a couple blocks away. They have a lab. The guy who runs the lab says, you're going to walk into a Westfield shopping mall. They own a lot of the shopping malls in America, right, and around the world. You're going to walk in the front door and you're going to say, hey, Siri, where are the blue jeans? And it's going to show you 6 different blue jeans at different stores. There's Levi's ones at the Gap. There's other ones at this store, and there's other ones there. And you're going to click with your hand, or if you're wearing these glasses, you're just going to click in the air and say, take me to that one. And a blue line is going to appear on the floor because they know already where every product in the mall is. So they're going to navigate you right to the product, whether it's in the Levi Gap store or wherever, right?
Yep.
That's the shopping mall. NASCAR and football are putting sensors on all of their performers, right, on their athletes. I sat in I went to NASCAR a couple months ago. They know how hot the tires are on Danica Patrick's car in real time. So you're going to be holding the iPhone like this, watching Danica Patrick go around the NASCAR track, and it's going to show you how hot her tires are, and it's going to analyze how hard she's pushing her car and whether she has anything else to get out of the car that she isn't getting out of it yet. So it's going to predict whether she's going to pass somebody in a race before the tire really starts to get hot. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
In real time. And you think this is not happening, go to YouTube and do some Google searches because they're already showing you the prototypes of football.
I mean, I'm sold. I would buy a clear iPhone today, but I'm excited to see what this rollout looks like. And I think there's an education
magically
component.
Showed me R2-D2 on the floor already and properly occluded by the tables and things, and a new kind of game we can play together on table surfaces.
So you've worn a Magic Leap headset?
I haven't worn the Magic Leap, but I've worn all the other ones so far. But the YouTube videos are out there. You can look through the glass yourself and see what it's doing.
Yep. Okay. So moving on. So we've talked about, I think, some of the really exciting things that are happening in the space, but there are also lots of negative ones. And this week there's one that was highlighted. A woman wrote this blog post. Basically, here I guess I'll just read it. A woman wrote on Medium that male gamers started groping her character's chest while she was playing Quiver on HTC Vive, which is a kind of massively multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
Massively multiplayer virtual reality game. After they realized she was a woman because her mic was on, so they heard her voice, because obviously all the characters kind of look like a cartoon kind of.
And that won't last very long either. Apple bought another company that does 3D modeling of your face, so you're going to be able to portray yourself as yourself or as a cartoon character. Right?
Interesting. Oh yeah, Facebook is talking about that too. Yeah, yeah. So obviously sexual assault is a problem everywhere, but I think that this kind of sheds light. There's obviously been massive problems just with anonymous kind of trolling and assault on the internet.
It's a problem in society, right?
Yeah.
You can get shot in the street downstairs if somebody shoots you. We need to build systems that that resist this kind of bad behavior and get rid of it when it does happen. And that, in fact, the developer of that game fixed or changed their game in reaction to that complaint to make it so that a virtual player can't get real close to you. That's one way to design. So you can't violate my personal space unless I explicitly allow you to come close to me, and there might be a reason for that. But we are going to build systems that are going to be resistant to bad behavior. Uber is a good example of this, right? When I get in an Uber and take an Uber ride, I rate the driver and the driver rates me. So if I'm an asshole, and I don't know if I can say that on the show, but I'm going to.
That's fine.
If I'm an asshole, the rating, my rating is going to be a 1-star rating, and eventually I won't get picked up at peak times. And in VR, you're going to just get locked out of the good rooms, right? You're going to be put into jail.
Yep.
We're going to build virtual rooms where degenerative people can go and hang out together, and the rest of us can be free of those people, and we won't even see them. On Facebook, when I block you, you can't even see my page. And I think Facebook is going to be a real leader here because of that kind of learning. That if you want to block somebody, you need to block them completely. This is why Twitter has such a hazing problem.
Yep.
Because if I block you on Twitter, you can still see all my tweets and I can still all see yours. So what use is blocking? All it does is tell you that I was mad at you for something, right? No, you need to be punished if you're going to be a degenerate, and you need to get away from me, and you never have to be close to me again. And we're going to build engineering systems to do exactly that.
Yep.
Okay. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Cool. Moving along. So here we go. Jason Rubin, the head of content at Oculus, defends the company's reliance on platform-exclusive game content, saying it's the best way to jumpstart the VR market. Speaking at Gamescom 2016, he said, for developers to make large leaps of faith to do multi-million-dollar projects, it simply doesn't happen without the hardware manufacturers believing in the hardware and believing in the ecosystem and helping those developers out with large grants. So what do you think about this?
All of that is true. When you're building a new market, and Apple's done this a few times, and so has Microsoft, and so have Facebook, you have to, one, worry about distribution. And today, let's see, the Oculus Rift has sold 100,000 or so of these. And the HTC Vive has sold 100,000 or so of these. Mm-hmm. And the Sony PlayStation VR sold around 1 million. And the Samsung Gear VR sold around 1 million. Those are not numbers that make anybody interested in VR.
Yep.
The phone is the answer. You're going to get it. And everybody's going to get it on the next iPhone. That's going to be tens of millions sold the first weekend, because that's what the last iPhone sold, was tens of millions, right? So the next iPhone is going to sell tens of millions, and you're going to get the headset your phone goes into for free. That's going to be the one jump start. The other jump start is money, but there's a lot of money already being thrown at this industry. $500 million has been invested in the last quarter alone in virtual reality startups. There's a lot of money out there for people to build new kinds of virtual experiences. Now, these are not the multi-$100 billion things like Halo, right? I worked at Microsoft and met with the Halo team, and they had a whole hardware store that they converted into a headquarters, and they had hundreds of employees, and it was a multi-$100 billion budget for that group to build one game. You need the number of headsets out there to justify that kind of expense. If you're a studio executive or a game, if you work at EA and you try to go to your executive team and say, hey, we should spend $100 million on a new VR game, you better be able to prove that there's going to be that many headsets out in the market.
Yep.
That's coming by the end of next year. Hundreds of millions, dozens of millions of headsets are coming by the end of 2017, and hundreds of millions by the end of 2018. So that's why investors are getting excited, because they know this. They know a new iPhone's coming. They know HoloLens is coming. They know Magic Leap is coming. So they're pouring money into this stuff, and that you're seeing that happen. Now, HTC is investing in a studio, Oculus Rift is investing in a studio, and there's many, many places to go and get money to build one of these new kinds of companies.
So do you think someone can be the sort of iOS, lead exclusive platform for this content, or do you think it's going to be inevitably more of an open...
Oculus's head has already said exclusives are going to be important to this world, because it gets consumers excited, right? I stood in line to buy a version of Halo one time with hundreds of other people.
Yeah.
Exclusives get people excited and build markets. So who's going to have Minecraft? Who's going to have Call of Duty? Who's going to have NFL football? Who's going to have all the different... Who's going to have the Star Wars franchise? I bet it's going to be Apple, because Disney and Apple are owned by the same person. It's called Laureen Jobs. She has a lot of Steve Jobs stock still in Disney and Apple, right?
Interesting. Okay, let's see. I think we're not going to get through all of this news.
By the way, Will Mason, who runs Upload, is watching this.
Oh, nice, cool.
That's what's fun. They're doing live streaming from their studio in the green room, and we're doing this. We're going to have him on as a guest, I'm sure, on this show. Yeah.
But I did actually want to talk about because since we've been talking about kind of AR, you call it mixed reality, but Facebook has rolled out, so this is much more kind of consumer today news. They've rolled out the selfie masks in time for Halloween. So we've seen Snapchat has, I think, before Pokemon, kind of created the first augmented reality product that millions and millions of people use, and Facebook is racing to catch up. What do you think?
Snapchat is disrupting Mark in a different way than this mixed reality stuff is going to disrupt him, but it is all coming together. Snapchat, for people who don't know, lets you do two things. One, it lets me message you and your messages go away. That's okay. It also lets me build up a semi-public video show, a reality show about my life, one day at a time. It actually lets me do this, grab all my snaps together and save it so I can put it on Facebook or message it to you. And these glasses that are coming out. So Snap changed its name from Snapchat to Snap and said, we are now a camera company. That gives you a good hint because the camera needs distribution for making a daily show about your life, right? So if you're a teenager doing some fun stuff, you're going to be wearing these Snap spectacles soon that have a connected camera in them. It was designed by Epiphany Eyewear, which put a little tiny camera inside a sunglass frame. And now it's a little cube because, basically you take the camera out of a cell phone and put it in a little thing. And they're doing a whole bunch of artificial intelligence and computational photography on the images that are coming off that sensor. But they're also putting our augmented reality on top of your face and soon on top of the world. And Mark is trying to compete with that and make sure he doesn't lose everybody to Snapchat, right?
Right.
Because if Snap has a way to communicate that Facebook doesn't, you're going to move from Facebook to Snap, right?
Yep.
So today he announced Facebook Live, which we're using to distribute this.
Yep.
We're going to soon be able to put things on our face and look cooler.
Okay, cool. So I guess one thing just to wrap up, we didn't get through all the news, but we're going to be doing this show all the time, so we have plenty more to talk about. But I think, so we've kind
the big news of the week was Microsoft.
Yeah, so we talked about Microsoft. Yep. We talked about the plans for Apple, which are moving in the direction of augmented mixed reality.
We'll talk about that
more than just
year.
Virtual reality. Yep. And then we talked about kind of Oculus and Facebook and what they're doing, and then just touched on Snap and their kind of movement into this space. So do you think, looking at this, is this going to be kind of a winner-take-all kind of land grab that we see over the next 18 months, or is this just like a brand new kind of new ecosystem, and all of these companies, as long as they make the right bets, are going to be able to thrive?
I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. I do think there's going to be a winner take most.
Okay.
Just like there was in PCs, right? Windows took most because it was the common way that developers decided to build things because it had distribution. And who can get something on our face? There's some limitations. One, you need a brand that people are willing to put on their face. Apple has that. Tesla has that. Google, not so much. Microsoft, what?
Snap has it.
Snap has it for sure, right? Because all the kids are going to want a Snap thing on their face. Two, it has to be something mind-blowing that has a better user interface on the real world where you can grab it with your hands. I mean, when I'm wearing a HoloLens, I'll have one, but probably in the next 2 weeks. You do this in front of it, and then a menu pops off of it, right? That's called the bloom gesture. So you got to learn new kinds of gestures to talk to these things, right? Bloom and click,
Yeah. We were talking about Jason last time. Doing the,
you're going to learn new kinds of things with your hands. I don't know who's going to have the best one. I assume Apple's in play, Facebook's in play, Magic Leap's in play, and Microsoft's in play, and Snap's in play. I don't know which one wins out of all that, and there might be some surprising ones. Amazon's working on one. Tencent in China's working on one, right? And there's others. So I don't know who wins. I assume, though, whoever does it best, we are going to know that really quickly, and we're going to buy that one.
Okay.
Cool. Yes, we're going to have a winner. I'll take all, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's going to help spur the market because everybody will have this all in 1 week, right? And it'll be how you communicate with your Internet of Things lights. Like that light could have an internet thing in it. I look at it and I say, I want to turn down that light, right?
Yep.
With my eyes.
All right, well.
What else was in the news? Let's do some rapid fire ones. Maybe that'll be a good way to end the show.
Yeah, so
I'll kick this off Friday afternoon.
So one we had was this startup called Onyx that has a Kickstarter campaign for a new VR headset.
So there's people who are building trying to come up with new things that are going to sell. I've seen some of the headsets that have wider viewing angles and better sensors. I think they're irrelevant. I think the idea that you're going to compete with Facebook or with Apple or with Microsoft or with Google in the headset game is idiocy. I think you're just not going to compete with them. You do not have 600 engineers working on a frickin' sensor, right? I don't, unless you're a billionaire. And even if you're a billionaire, where do you get 600 Israeli engineers to work for you? That's not where I would be putting my investment dollar right now. I'd be putting it in things that will run on this new system coming along.
So content, games,
and accessories maybe for the headset. But anyways, there are people who are playing with optics, and I think they're playing to get acqui-hired by one of these teams and get put in. In fact, Meta is one of these. Meta is augmented reality, and ODG is over here by the ballpark. These are two companies that simply don't have the brand to go all the way, but they're building really interesting engineering teams. They're going to get bought by somebody because somebody's going to get desperate, right? When Amazon figures out Microsoft is about to screw them, they're going to get desperate and go looking for other things to buy to compete with Apple and compete with Microsoft's HoloLens. And they're going to be in play for that. So acqui-hire, but come on. We're not going to use that headset.
Okay. ABBA have teamed up with the American Idol creator Simon Fuller to create a virtual reality reunion.
Boom! You're going to have ABBA playing on your table in 3D, volumetric, coming soon. You can already do that with a 8i camera system, right? It just costs a lot of money.
Okay, one more. A new augmented reality app can counter the history erasing effects of gentrification by restoring cultural artifacts that in many cases no longer exist.
Yeah. Museums are about to change. You're going to walk in with these glasses into a museum or into a space, and you're going to see it in time. You're going to say, hey, Siri, can you show me this city as it appeared in 1906, right before the earthquake? Siri, can you show it to me right after the earthquake? Boom. You'll see every building that fell down that day, right? And then show it to me 3 days later after the fire. You'll see where the fire affected it. And then show it to me 5 years later after they started rebuilding the city, right?
Yep.
And boom, 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 boom. I already saw this stuff. If you go to Shanghai's new tower, the second highest building in the world, they have a huge VR screen where they show you exactly this. They show you how Shanghai was built over the last 300 years, right?
Okay, one more. NASA is calling the implementation of VR into their workflow a game changer. Scientists at the group's Langley Research Center have begun to use the HoloLens and Oculus Rift to streamline many different aspects of the work they do. The future is here, and we've got to get with it, says IT specialist Ed McClarney. So
they're not the only one. Disneyland's new Shanghai park was built completely in VR. You go to Ford's R&D lab here in Palo Alto, all the cars are being designed in VR. We're going to work together in VR on 3D things. We want to design a new object. We're going to put on a headset and work in VR because everything is run by what? AutoCAD. And so that's also run here in San Francisco. AutoCAD's CAD drawing software is how everything is built. This building was built in AutoCAD. And every screw in this building is in a CAD drawing somewhere. And we can find it in our VR headset and zoom in on it and work on a new door handle if we want to.
Right. Cool. There we go.
And there's a few questions. So people are wondering, where are we broadcasting from? We're in the WeWork. What is this?
WeWork. It's called WeWork Golden Gate down in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. World headquarters of Launch, where Jason broadcasts This Week in Startups, as well as Inside.com. World headquaters.
Yeah, and that looks like it. So we're going to have a lot of fun over the next year covering the space. There's $100 billion of investment being done across the industry in various things that are going to go into the glasses, the optic system. We didn't even talk about audio. That's going to be a whole show. We're going to have Doppler Labs on or something like that, talking about how audio is going to be augmented. We're going to talk about how these polygons get displayed. We'll probably have somebody on from NVIDIA talking about that, or AMD or Qualcomm, because they're all competing with each other. Nobody wants to lose this next battle. Oh, we missed the biggest news, really, of the week. NVIDIA bought QXP, if I remember right, for $45 billion, right? So why are they doing that? Artificial intelligence chips. They do not want to lose the next war because they realize they're only here because they beat Intel at the mobile phone game. Inside my phone is a Qualcomm chip that's talking to the cell tower, right? Right now. So they don't want to lose the next one. And they're going to have 3 or 4 chips in the next glasses that are going to do these vision systems and do the polygon displays and artificial intelligence, because soon these glasses are going to know this is a table and that's a mug and that's a human, because it needs to put virtual stuff on in the world, right? And it needs to know that. And it needs to assist all the artificial intelligence startups that are coming. And there's a whole, there's a whole separate show, I think, on the inside.com network about that. Or if there's not, there will be soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you for joining us. This is sort of what we're going to do, every other week, right? Or every week?
Every week we're going for it. Yeah, Robert's around the world constantly, so working with that schedule. But yeah.
I'm going to, next week I think I'll be here. The week after we're going to be in Lisbon for the Web Summit where there's 50,000 people. And we're going to keep touring the R&D labs of the world to bring this stuff to you so you have an understanding of what's coming. My advice, I guess if there's one advice, if you want to start a company in this world, you have to learn Unity and you have to get a VR headset, an Oculus Rift or a HTC Vive, because these are the development environments for whatever is coming next.
Yep.
If you learn how to build for these today, you're going to be set for what's coming tomorrow, the HoloLens and whatnot. So.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. Sign up for our newsletter on inside.com. We have a variety of newsletters, and come back next week. Thank you very much.